gotta laugh at the stupidity, 'cause I've made some real big mistakes.
The other day, Zoe and I were doing press. We went on The View together and we showed up both wearing almost identical from like head to toe. I almost wore the same lip shade as her, black turtleneck, black thing, trousers, an identical belt. But because of the sort of structure of The View, there was no point at which I could reference the fact that we were wearing the same outfits. So we were sitting next to each other looking insane. I wanted to say, we know...
We called each other this morning and planned our outfits.
Like this was, we are aware, but there was no moment to do that. So we just looked crazy.
So hi.
Hi. Hi, mate.
How you doing, doll?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Last time I saw you was on set.
I know.
London.
I know.
Very exciting.
Yes. Yeah.
And you'd finished this movie before then, though.
Yeah, we did this in 2021. Actually, on Maestro, which I just finished.
Yeah. How was that, by the way?
It was amazing.
It's exciting.
You worked with, who was I talking to? I was talking to Steve Morrow, the sound guy.
Yeah.
And he was like, I worked on Babylon. It's incredible.
It's mad.
And then I got to see it.
What do you think?
It's so crazy.
It's so insane.
I mean, it's wild. It's really, really wild.
When I read the script, I was like, this is La Dolce Vita and Wolf of Wall Street had a baby, and I love it.
Yeah.
But I was like, are we allowed to show that? Are we allowed to show that? I mean, there were so many scenes where I was like, A, I have no idea how I'm going to do that, and B, are we going to get away
Did it
this?
read like, how close is the finished film to what it read like when you first read the script?
Pretty close.
It is.
You know, he's not like finding it in the edit.
Yeah.
He has like a vision. And
he's got it in his mind.
Yeah, and he's also, because he's so musically gifted, I think like even the rhythm of it felt evident on the page and then totally translated.
The music is so amazing.
The music is so good.
I got in the car, I watched it with my mum, and she was...
Oh God, what'd she think?
It's a fun one to see with your mum.
Yeah, everyone should see Babylon with their parents. It won't be awkward at all.
I sent my mum years ago with my now husband, but boyfriend of like probably 2 months to go and see Shame together.
No, God.
It
was, that's an icebreaker.
But no, she loved it. She really loved it. And she sat in the car and she immediately started just doing the little, the theme, the tune of you and Diego. And you're, which is so beautiful.
The music, I've heard it like 1 billion times because it's that it was one of those rare opportunities where we had the music before, you know, while we would, to rehearse with.
Yeah.
We've heard those tunes 1,000 times over and I still love them. Like
They're
they're
so
still
lovely.
like, I know, it was really, really nice. Yeah, Justin Hurwitz has worked with Damien.
And he did La La Land.
Yeah, I think he's done all of Damien's things.
There's an amazing remix of the La La Land like main theme.
Yeah.
That has this, my children listen to it, and it has this little voice over the top going, that's just my baby dog. That's just, but it's over the like La La thing, and I can't wait to see what the Babylon remixes are.
People are so clever these days. Every time I see like memes or like any of those little mini internet sensations, I'm like,
genius. So the whole first thing, the whole first sequence, which is a giant party.
Yeah, oh my God.
With an elephant. First of all, was the elephant real? How much of the elephant was real?
Do you know,
don't ruin cinema for me.
The elephant wasn't real.
The elephant wasn't real at all?
I know, which is so convincing. There was actually so many animals on this set, so many animals every day. But funnily enough, I feel like there are more regulations around what you can do with animals than what you can do with humans. Because, you know, our background artists, our extras, on the other hand, were the most uninhibited human beings you've ever
So who were they all? So just to...
It's amazing.
To explain... The whole opening sequence is this enormously debauched, crazy
party,
wild party, and there's lots of people wearing
a lot of nudity,
very little and nothing.
It's pretty much a party / orgy, like it kind of turns into an orgy.
It's a porgy.
It's a porgy,
one might say.
Yeah, a drug-fueled porgy.
So who were all these background? Because they're all kind of incredible dancers, and was it a
lot of dancers, and and also some friends, and also
who wanted to get their cash off and just
pretty much like friends of Davey and Olivia's. Like I asked some of my friends, you know, we were just kind of like because it was important to have the party atmosphere throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
You know, I would always have friends like in the trailer, like base camp was like a little ongoing party. Like I was like, I kind of need it for Nellie. Like I need her to never have a minute of quiet, never compose herself, just always be like, da, 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 next thing, next thing, next thing. So I didn't ever want to go back to my trailer and like settle. I wanted to like, and on weekends too, I was so tired. I was like, all right, I'm having a party, or like we're going out, or we're doing this, or having poker nights, or just like, I was like, I just want to stay extremely stimulated the whole time. Because it gives you that like frequency that you end up living at, and you're like tired, but you still can't get off the adrenaline rush. And I wanted kind of Nelly to have that all the time. So it was like 2 weeks of that energy.
2 weeks. Yeah, I thought, I mean, because it's like, how long is that? It's like 40. It's a long, that whole party is a
pretty
long
sequence,
thing.
and there's like a lot of intricate camera moves and stuff like that. And obviously the exterior to the party we shot at a different time, and the interior was at the Ace Theatre in LA. I can't remember how many days, but I think the party all up was around 2 weeks, which it was so weird because you know how like sometimes it like actually feels like what you're doing is, you know, like it feels real. It's like I felt like I was at a party, but it was like a party that just never ended.
No.
But you were kind of in it. We'd walk out, and there'd be like broad daylight, and I was like, oh, it's like when the lights come on at a club, and you're like, oh God, what?
Did you shoot it at night?
It was kind of like morphed into nights by the end. But no, we'll start, you know, sometimes we'd start the party at, you know, 6 in the morning, and it would be like, all right, everyone close off, act crazy, like just like.
And did he play music, or were you just doing it in?
Oh no, there was.
So you didn't have to do the kind of like.
We had to do a little bit of that sometimes, but honestly not that much, which
that's good.
is always the worst.
Yeah, it's always.
Oh God,
and there's dead silence, and you're having to sort of create.
Yeah, because actually in that party there isn't so much talking as much as like singing and choreography and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, there's the chicken that's stealing someone's bag of Coke. There's like, you know, my friend Phoebe actually plays the girl that ODs upstairs, and like Flea and that are carrying it. I mean, there's just so much happening. And then I do this crazy dance, and then Diego and I have this really cool thing. And then it was just so much, and it was so fun. And Lena shot Babylon, who you just worked with on Saltburn.
Yes.
He's a cinematographer, and I loved working with him so much on Babylon that when we were prepping Saltburn, I was like, Emerald, you have to meet Linus. He is
amazing.
a genius, and
He's so lovely.
So artistic, but also so fast. I mean,
those shots in the part, I mean, all of it just looks incredible.
Yeah.
But those shots in the part, I mean, are they, you can't,
they're
continuous,
one-ers,
right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's so
a lot
crazy.
of one-ers. Outside the party, Diego and I do a walk and talk. That was like a 4-minute one-er that I think got edited down. But we did that. I remember I was like, oh, this must be my record of number of takes. We did a 4-minute one-er 36 times.
Because
Damien's, you know, a perfectionist. He's so brilliant because he doesn't settle for anything less than spectacular.
Yeah.
And that is like all I could ever wish for in a director.
Yeah.
You know, some things had to be extremely precise. Even some lines here and there, he was like, no, I need the inflection. You know, he's got a real musical ear. I need the inflection going up. Do it again, do it again, do it again. And then other things, he was just like,
great.
go crazy.
Wow.
Like, do anything. It was meant to be three lines in a scene.
Wow.
And you do hours of just crazy improv and like come up with all this stuff, and he'd just like let you run wild. And the more wild it got, the more he loved it. So the more he'd shoot it. And it was just like that really great combination where you're like, wow, I've got a director who's operating on both ends of the spectrum of like incredibly precise and technical, and then also complete freestyling, free for all. He's like he's like a genius jazz musician in his skills. And
because there's so many sequences where you're required to, I mean, it's so incredible, that scene in the bar where you get your first ever gig.
Oh yeah.
And
the crying on cue.
Oh my God, crying on cue. And she's,
it was so
and that's
meta.
Olivia, that's Damien's wife.
Damien's wife, who also produced the film.
Oh, that's amazing.
One of the producers on the film.
So she's giving you these really, she thinks you're like pointless and just a sort of bit of fluff, and then she sees how talented you are and starts like really specifically directing you, and you have to repeat it over and over and over again, and at one point get a single tear.
Yeah.
How much of that was real?
We pretty much were doing that scene exactly the same. Yeah, and in my head I was like, I know I can, you know, I worked on a soap for 3 years. I know I can cry on cue. But to get one tear to fall at the right time, on the right, just as the lighting and camera movement line up, and have it fall out of the right eye, you know, like I used to be able to do that when I was on Neighbours, but I haven't had to be that specific since.
That's insane.
And I was kind of like, wow, I hope I still got it. Like, I hope I can still like pick which eye a tear is going to fall out of on the right moment. And I was like, thank God I was able to do it. But I think Damien was also accommodating for me not being able to do, in his head he was like ready to do some whip pans and like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then it was so played out like the scene because I was doing it and he was like, okay, great. And he's like, okay, I can't believe I'm going to ask you to do this again because that was perfect. But actually, can we now on this one? And I was like, Damien, we're doing the scene. And he's like, oh my God, we are doing the scene.
I mean, it is like
art imitating life.
It's amazing to watch because you do. And the first time you burst into tears, it's like fully heart. I mean, there's nothing acting. It's like fully heartbreaking tears.
Sobbing tears. Yeah, he loves, the Falconetti shots in Passion of Joan of Arc, which is a beautiful masterpiece of, silent cinema. And so we kept calling it, we're like, we need to get our Falconetti, we need to get our, and then, Linus would get in there and it was just like, it was so magical.
And Linus is such a lovely presence behind the camera to have.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that makes such a big difference.
Cut. Hiya, I'm Nellie Leroy. So we going again? And then on the flip side, in the movie, when that's happening for Nellie, she's having her first day on set, crying on cue and blah, blah, blah. What is being intercut in the movie is Manny, Diego's character's first day on a film set where Brad Pitt's character is the huge movie star and it's like this huge battle sequence. I wasn't obviously in that, but I was like, I have to go to set that day. Like, I can't miss this. There were 700 extras. Like, I may never see that again in a film, on a film set, because with CGI and stuff these days, like, no one does that. Yeah. But for Damien, like, everything has to be done practically. And huge explosions, and Diego's on a horse shooting a gun, and there's 700 extras, and everyone's battling, and there's an orchestra, and you got Spike, who is a director, being a director.
That took me. Why that took me so long to be like, who's this amazing European actor? And then literally after the film, I was like, who was that guy? What? Like, he looks. It's not like he's wearing a disguise, but he's
doing this crazy German accent, and like, I mean, he's so funny. He actually also does a cameo in Wolf of Wall Street. He plays one of the guys. It's like my favorite scene in the movie. He's so funny, but he totally, dissolves into a character. He's a great actor. Yeah. But yeah, speaking of dissolving into a character, please can we talk about? Can we please talk about you and this film? She said, I loved it. It is so compelling, and you are like. I just kept thinking, because it's really stuck with me after watching. I was like, just reliving different moments of the movie, like again and again in my head. And I was just like, as I was watching, I was like, oh, I'm so excited, I'm going to watch Carrie's movie. And I was like, and because I know you, I was like, I didn't think of you at all watching it. You're so real. Like, you're such a real actor, which seems like a simplistic way, derivative way to explain what you do, because it's exceptional. But I don't think of you as an actor when I'm watching you. I think of you as a real life human being, and you're so real, and you bring so much humanity. It's like you're not acting at all, except then you do these crazy like crying scenes and this and that, or like scream at the guy in the bar, and I'm like, she's acting her pants off, but it just doesn't feel like acting. I was blown away. I loved it. I loved it.
How did you persuade women to tell you what had happened to them?
Yeah, so. It's difficult. They're terrified. A case I made was, I can't change what happened to you in the past, but together we may be able to use your experience to help protect other people. The truth, basically. It was funny because when I read it for the first time, we were still doing all of our press for Promising Young Woman, which you
I was
produced.
behind the camera.
You were behind the camera.
You were our glorious.
I still remember the day you came to set, and I was doing the scene with Christopher Mintz-Plasse.
McLovin.
I know, that's the thing, I was about to say McLovin. I was like, you're a better person. But only because he's so synonymous with that character, because he was so amazing in that. But anyway, you was shooting Birds of Prey at the same time.
Yeah.
And then you came to set, and I looked like a crazy person. This like insanely dark makeup around my eyes. Had like weird feathers in my hair, I think, and was, sort of mumbling my way through the scene very.
You were crushing the scene, and I was, that whole shoot, because I was also producing Birds of Prey, even if I didn't get any day, I had one day off, and I was like, I'm going straight to the Promising Young Woman set. I'm missing everything.
We were so excited also, because we'd both been working, simultaneously. We hadn't got to have you on set at that point, but there was a real buzz. And then when you left, Emerald and I were like, oh, she's so amazing. Oh my God, did you see the jeans she was wearing? Those jeans are so amazing, but they never look that good on her. Shut
up.
It's true. We were like, those jeans were God. Goddess. Anyway, so we've obviously worked together before. So I was, I was doing all the press, and it was, it's like the press around that film was, of course, you're talking about really sensitive stuff. You're talking about stuff that really it's real. Like our story was a sort of fictional kind of fantasy based on stuff that we all know and experience, but it wasn't a specific person we were talking about. It wasn't like real. We weren't talking about someone's actual testimony.
Yeah, Promised Young Woman is an original idea.
Totally.
But the beauty of that movie is everyone goes, oh my God, that's so real.
Exactly.
That is so how it happens.
Yeah.
And then in this movie, it's kind of like a similar territory, but approached in a totally different way.
Totally different. And the real people that the film is about, and then the subjects that Zoe Kazan and I play in Megan and Jodie are just very real, very alive, very still working in the world, and incredibly talented, sort of formidable journalists. And the story that they wrote, and the women who came forward, it's very kind of sort of loaded material. So you just sort of always feel a bit, it's just an extra, responsibility.
Huge responsibility. I remember when we did Bombshell, I was
going to ask you about that.
I was playing a fictional character, but who's kind of like an amalgamation of real life stories put into a fictional character. But, Nicole and Charlize, everyone's playing like real life people. Roger Ailes is, the villain in that story. But it's a different vibe on set when you're playing real life people who are still very much alive, and when the events that you're portraying are pretty recent in people's mind. Like it is, it's just a different thing. And I felt a huge sense of responsibility. So I can imagine you must have.
Yeah, it's just you sort of are aware that it's all a lot bigger than you and a lot bigger than a film, really. So I read it and I was so fascinated by Megan, just of who she is and how her brain works. And
she seems like a badass.
She's incredible.
What she's done is insane.
It's crazy. I mean, really, it's amazing. And the work that they did in sort of developing these relationships with the survivors who ultimately came forward, and whether they went on the record or not, it did seem like, gosh, there's this group of women who did this really heroic thing. And I do think that deserves a film. I think it deserves someone saying, like, look at this moment in history where this like relatively small group of women decided to be, I've been describing it to my kids because they're seeing like billboards and they're like, what's she said? Like, well, you can watch it when you're 40, but it's about these women who were being bullied by a man and were being bullied for a long time, and it was really unfair, and they decided that they were going to do something about it. So they all came together and they stood up to him, and then he was held accountable. And I just thought that is it. That's it. I think like more examples of that, please. Like more examples in the world of how women can come together and be really strong, or stand alone and be strong. I'm sure they didn't feel like a huge solidarity, or it wasn't like they were sort of buffered by lawyers and, huge kind of support. They did it really kind of on their own. But, that they had the New York Times behind them, I think, was a huge part of it. But yeah, it just felt like the suffragettes, like, make a film about this. This is really amazing.
How close are any of these actresses to going on the record?
We're introducing the idea.
I'm afraid we have these horrific hotel room accounts and no corroborating evidence.
We feel they'll speak out if they're not the only ones. Safety in numbers.
And settlements?
3.
Did you get to spend time with Megan?
Yeah, we loads actually.
The real life journalist that you.
Yeah, so Megan, she was really kind of honest about her experience of postnatal depression and lots of kind of things that were going on in her home life, because the script is so close to the book, which is so close to the events that happened in real life. So the film is based on She Said, their book, and they wrote the book before they even knew the outcome of any of these sort of legal trials. They wrote it as a kind of...
Really?
Yeah, they started almost, straight after they published the articles, they wanted to be able to say, this is actually what happened. This is sort of indisputable, and this is a record, because they didn't know what would come of it. And there was so much more that they had learned that they couldn't publish in this article because they couldn't get it verified and on the record.
Do you know, that's something I found in the movie that I was like, oh, the bureaucracy of this is infuriating, and must be like beyond infuriating if you were Megan or who, it's any journalist in that position, to have sources, have the facts, and not be able to share them because you have to verify it with this. And, it seemed like there were so many hoops to jump through in order to just tell the truth.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. I think my assumption was like, something to be true.
Yeah.
you kind of all agree, and then you write it. And I think what's great
Also,
about
so
that,
much bullshit is written that is so not true that I'm like, wait, how come the New York Times can't just tell everyone the truth? But like some ridiculous, the Daily Mail can just make up insanity. Like it's just.
I think the standards to which they hold themselves is really great for like a contemporary audience to see at the moment with the climate the way it is. Like
just to know that
really to be able to say what they say has to have that level of rigor behind it, and to say absolutely this is verified, multiple people have confirmed this. And so that
I
was
guess too, if it's going to get caught up in like criminal proceedings.
Well, that's the thing.
Like,
I mean, it really had to be kind of legally airtight, which it was.
You don't want to mess up a trial.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what the book was for that. So, and then the book was adapted by Rebecca Lenkovitz, our screenwriter, who spent lots of time immediately with Zelda Perkins, with with various Laura Madden.
The actress who plays Laura is
Jennifer Ely.
Oh my God, she is.
I know.
Unbelievable. She gives such a insane performance.
I know. Jennifer Ely was on set for 2 days.
She did all that in 2 days?
2 days, and Samantha Morton was a day, was like less than a day of filming, and the impact it's unbelievable. We couldn't believe our luck when we got those actors to play, because it's a day of, how hard it is to come in and, you'd far rather be in the whole thing than come in and do a day. I mean, it's truly such a hard job, and they just, incredible.
Crush.
Yeah, incredible actors.
And I was so curious, when you hear Harvey Weinstein, when you hear Trump, when you hear Rose McGowan, when you hear Gwyneth Paltrow, is it recordings of them, or is it actors, or a combination?
So Ashley and Gwyneth are playing themselves. Yep. Our amazing Mike Houston played Weinstein. So you never see his face in the film, but you see him from behind. He also did his voice,
freaky how
which is very
uncanny.
But there's also
Did he do his voice every time, or is some of it a recording?
No, it's all, apart from they play the tape between Weinstein and Ambra. That's the original recording that. And then
everything else is him.
Everything else is Mikey.
That's insane.
Yeah. It's an incredible kind of performance, because it's not really, you don't see him, but it's not a traditional thing, but the voice, and he was so...
And the presence.
His presence, and he was really wonderfully he was so committed to it, and also aware that he was playing a character that could make people feel not great in real life. So he was wonderful. And then other people were voice actors. The guy who played Trump is now on SNL.
No way!
Yeah, and as we shot it, I think within days of us shooting it, he was cast in SNL. I didn't meet him until we'd wrapped, but he was I was in the apartment downstairs and he was upstairs in a room just ringing me as Trump. And I had no image to put to his face, except this guy sounded unbelievable. And after every take, I'd go, that was amazing. Well done. See you in a sec. We'd do another take, but he was so good.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's so, and it's funny because I remember thinking, well, it's definitely not really Gwyneth Paltrow, but whoever just impersonated her nailed it.
But you had amazing people in your film.
We have a big ensemble cast in Babylon. People who audiences are going to recognize, like Jean Smart and Brad Pitt.
Oh my goodness, I love her so much.
Oh, she's brilliant. Amazing. She's so good in this, and so funny, and just, I love her. And then also, our protagonist of the story, like your real emotional center and driving force is the character of Manny, played by Diego Calva, who is, this is his introduction to Hollywood.
Yeah.
He's worked a lot in Mexico. He's actually directed his own stuff, and he's brilliant. But the fact that no one, in Hollywood or America or wherever outside of Mexico are even aware of him, and they're just going to have this movie boom.
Yeah.
It's just so wild. I remember watching his face on his first day on set, which was that big battle scene. He's on the horse and all that kind of stuff. And I just remember thinking oh wow, this was me when I did Wolf of Wall Street. It was my first American movie, and it was madness. I was like, this is how movies are made? This is crazy. And then I soon found out that was,
and for that to be his first big American gig is
and he's if you rewatch the movie ever, you'll notice how much the movie plays here.
I know. I was going to say there are so many. That's what I mean. He's so fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
Just watching him absorb. Yeah. The world that he's walked into.
It's pretty crazy. He can hold the frame without saying anything and tell a lot with his face. I remember the first time I saw him too, it was in Damien's backyard, and we were doing chemistry reads and stuff. And as soon as I saw him, I was like, he is going to look fantastic on screen, because he's got just such an angular face, like the cheekbones, the jaw, and like his height. I was like, he is going to be captivating on camera, and he is.
His eyes are so, he just is telling so much. Particularly the top of the film, it's a lot of kind of reacting to.
He's
and
reacting
he gets like
all the
swept
time.
along, you know, with the madness of what's happening, and you just see him take it all in.
They fucked up with me, Manny. They really fucked up with me because I make him squirm. And I like making him squirm. Let him know that I got here on my terms, not theirs. And when I'm done, I'm gonna dance my ass off into the night. And they'll know, everyone will fucking know that they could never control one goddamn fucking thing.
You two together are so lovely.
I know, I love our love story.
It's such a good love story.
It's so nice too getting to do, I mean, you know the feeling like when you get to work with an actor where you guys just like click, and that's why I think chemistry reads are such a gift. It actually really scares me signing on to projects where it's straight offers, because I'm like, well, I know I love that person's work and I know I've met them before, and but like, or I haven't met them before. I just don't know what our chemistry is like. You just don't know. It's not about being a great actor or not. It's just, it's like the alchemy is just, it's kind of up to chance, I feel like. And so thankfully we got to do some chemistry reads, and like the minute we started acting together, we had to do our first couple ones over Zoom, and it was so hard. And
over Zoom, that must be so weird.
Yeah, because of the COVID protocols. And so Damien and I would like check in after every Zoom, like with other actors, and I'll be like, I mean, they're great. I don't know. And he's like, do you think this aspect works? And I'm like, this works, this works. Diego was for sure the only actor that every time we'd like improvise a fight scene, I was like, he'd beat me. Like
really,
he would win the fight. He like when he yells like shut the fuck up.
Oh yeah,
I shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Whereas like when the other guys would yell shut the fuck up, I'd be like fuck you, blah blah blah. You know, like I was like Damien, that Nellie's not going to back down from a fight if that's their Manny. But I was like no, she's that's
because he really can be. I mean, he really.
Oh my God, there's a lot of stuff obviously that didn't make the movie, which is surprising because it's 3 hours and 8 minutes. But there's a lot of stuff that's not in the movie, and some of it was this huge fight scene we did, and I think I broke one of his ribs or fractured it, and we got so into the fight, and his head was bleeding because I threw something at him. And I mean, we had, by the way, I want to add, we had the kind of trusted relationship by this point that we knew. And he's like an actor like me where I'm like, go for it, do everything, do anything, like push me, shove me, whatever. He's the same. He's like, but I didn't know his head was bleeding. He hid it from me, and he didn't tell me until the movie was over that I'd fractured his ribs in that scene. I mean, and this movie Babylon is just populated by insane characters.
That's the thing. I mean, you are surrounded by incredible people, but you are so uninhibited in the most incredible way.
Yeah.
It's like nothing. She's complete. I mean, you, Nellie. Like it's hard to.
No,
you are so her. That's. I mean, it's not you, Margot. Like you're not her. Like you're very much not her. But her energy, and it's so interesting what you say about that you never gave yourself a break. Like you kept your weekends busy. You had people on set because to maintain that level that she has of just constant like. I mean, it's searching or whatever. I don't know what you would describe as what she's doing, but
and it's a movie where the energy. Thank you.
You are. You're really unbelievable in it. At the end of almost every scene, I was like, well, I don't know how did she do that? What was the crying scene being one, but like everything. I mean, there's just so many sort of incredible moments of sort of first of all spontaneity, things that just feel like you've never done them before, and you clearly had done 37 takes on some occasion, but also just the kind of. There's just so much life in it, so vivid and so rich. There's nothing kind of, I think it's easy to play parts that are very kind of extrovert and bombastic and sort of one-noted, and there's just nothing. She's such a full, beautiful character. Anyway, you're always amazing, but you're ridiculous in this.
It's so ridiculous. I mean, I love Nellie.
Good, but also ridiculous in the best
also
way.
ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, I'm literally fighting a rattlesnake with no top on at one point. So like, it's ridiculous. Yeah. But it is that the energy level was a real thing because the movie had so much energy and somehow Nellie always had to be bigger, like the biggest energy in the room.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot. That's a lot of energy.
On you.
But I loved it so much. It was the best experience.
How long did you do it for?
Not as long as you would think for how much we shot. I think, I can't remember how many days of shooting we did, but I think it was like more like 3.5 months as opposed to like a 6-month shoot. Which if I watched that movie, I'd think that we shot for 6 months.
Yeah, I would have thought.
But
like
so it was like frantic. It was like we were hustling. But I think it was that feeling of we may never be allowed to make a movie like this again.
Yeah.
So we have to,
Yeah.
like, we don't want to leave anything out on the floor. Like, you want to give it everything every single day.
Yeah.
Like we'd never work again. Like we'd not, like someone might not ever give you the chance to walk on a movie set again. And that's what it felt like. And I think it's really the first time I've watched a movie I've been in and I was like, or I finished the job and I was like, I gave it everything.
Yeah, you did it
everything. There
all.
was no thing I didn't try because I felt too embarrassed in the moment. There was no, you know, place I didn't like push to or whatever. And it's such a nice feeling to be like, oh, I gave it everything. I gave it, there's no regret. There's no regrets. There's no what ifs in my head, which is
That's so nice. And did you,
yeah.
were there like any bits? I mean, you do get attacked by a snake. You are like running around
half naked.
You are half naked.
With a puppet snake that I'm trying to look like waving.
You made it work though. I obviously knew it wasn't a real snake. But
we did have real snakes, rattlesnakes
on the set.
On the set,
yeah,
like those shots of the snakes. And,
and there's that. I mean, there's so many sequences that are just so wild, and the dancing is incredible.
Dancing is.
Have you danced?
Oh my God.
I've seen you dance.
I've done like a bit of dancing here and there in movies, but not really, not like this.
Yeah.
It was actually a really interesting way into the character because Damien, you know, this movie is set in the late 20s into the early 30s, but he didn't want it to look, he was like, I don't want to see the Charleston once in this movie. I don't want to see like any of the cliches that we normally see because that's not the side of Hollywood in the time period we're showing. Like things were crazy back then. It was just like, it seems squeaky clean now because Hollywood's, you know, sanitized its, you know, its history in that way. It's like, no, it was lovely. But actually, you know, everyone was so young and so many drugs were legal and movie sets weren't regulated in it anyway. So
who's the amazing guy who plays, I should know this, but plays the Duke, is it the Duke, the drug dealer guy?
Oh, the Count.
The Count.
Yeah, Rory. Rory's like he's a great comedian, and actor.
Say,
he's so funny.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's so good. And like the sound engineer guy, you know, the
Oh,
day
yes.
when Nellie has her first day on a talkie, and it's like just that was that guy's cast. It was his first day shooting ever on a movie.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was like, again, madness. Like that scene ended up evolving or devolving into the most insane fight thing, which was so funny.
I love all those sequences in the film. Well, like that one in the bar scene where it's repetitive and you see like the...
Take one, take two.
Take two. And everyone's slowly losing their shit.
It was so good.
You didn't produce Babylon, or you did?
No. And I love doing films that I'm not a producer on, obviously, because I'm like,
you just get
phew! I would hate to have produced Babylon. I'm such a monster of a movie. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. But yeah, I can't turn off that side of my brain. Like as soon as I got to work actually on Babylon, my first day, and I knew, and I'm actually good friends with one of the producers on Babylon. And so I knew what their budget kind of limitations were, and any movie that ambitious is like going to be bursting at the seams. And I walked into my trailer and like walked out again, and I was like, "Give me a two-way." I was like, "You need this money. Like, thank you so much for giving me such a big, beautiful trailer on Babylon."
You downgraded your
But I was like, "You need to downgrade that now and put that money on screen because this movie needs it." I was like,
see, I would just throw myself on the double bed and
be like, "How did this get here?"
Flat screen TV.
No, but I think it's because in my head I know how much a trailer costs, and I know how much even just the parking of base camp ends up being more expensive than your location sometimes. And I can't help but think that every time I walk on set, I'm like, oh, and crew parking's there, and that, and oh, we just bought a penalty. Oh, okay, we're going to need another penalty. And I'm like calculating in my head how much this is all costing. And like an actor will come late to set, and I'm like, it was about $15,000 for them to be late just then.
So crazy. And in terms of, because as a producer, you're watching dailies and, you know, you're going to watch sort of early edits of films and stuff. Does it make you look at performance different? I mean, does it make you think about yours or other people's around? I mean, does that, because you sit in the edit on things, right? And are part of shaping the...
Yeah. It doesn't, no,
Basically, does it make you more judgmental?
You know, it's so weird. I really compartmentalize especially for me and my performance, like even in Babylon, like Nellie does so many things that I would be mortified to do. Like I said, I'm wearing like no top and just a pair of overalls fighting, like rolling around in the desert with a rattlesnake. Like that's so embarrassing. I would be mortified to do that. But when I'm in the scene, I'm like, well, it's not me, it's Nellie.
Yeah.
And like she would say crazy things and improvise. You know, when I was improvising, she would say like mad stuff that I was like, well, that's embarrassing. But in my head, I'm like, but I don't feel embarrassed because it's not me.
Not you, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the whole reason we do it, right? It's like people are always like, oh, make a speech at a thing because you're an actor.
Oh,
like,
and I hate
oh no, that's
They're like, but you're so good at public speaking. I'm like, not at all.
You are though.
I mean, I can do it,
I remember
but
you
I
accepting
really
in BAFTA
scares
for
me. Brad. I was so embarrassed.
You were so good.
No, I was mortified.
No, you were so good and you were so funny. You are good at it. I'm sure you've had to get good at it. But that's the thing, is that people think that actors are good at that stuff. And it's
Or like
why
when
you
do
choose a whole
interviews.
career so that you don't have
Exactly. Or you do a photo shoot and they're like, we just want to see you. And I'm like, no, I don't want to show you me. That's not why I do this
I always
job.
say, tell me where to put my hands. And then when I do red carpets and they go over the shoulder, I go, I don't do that.
I literally have 2 poses on the red carpet. That is
Show me.
it. It's literally, okay, I'm going to hold my mic. This is one of 2. It's this.
That's so nice.
Yeah, it's like the little 3/4 thing. And it's always that way, like this arm in front.
Yeah.
And then over the shoulder.
Yeah. Oh,
As
so
if,
you did-
as if
not
you're
full over the
No, because
shoulder.
they always, you know, they
Yeah.
always, like
Yeah.
you said, they always scream for over the shoulder.
Yeah.
I
That's
make it
like a
look like I'm
semi-
walking to my next spot
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
So they'll be like, over the shoulder, and I'll be like,
Yeah.
walk to the next spot, and then back to the pose. And
That's nice.
No matter what they say, I don't listen. I just do those 2 poses.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
it's
don't
just too mortifying otherwise.
Someone told me the other day to do like a pretend you're playing with your ring thing. I was like, oh.
Well, you'll notice
This is
when
my third move.
When guys pose on the red carpet, they're always adjusting their cufflinks.
Oh, yes.
Look out for that.
That's true. I remember
They
we
all
did
get
the
out of the
red
car and do
carpet
this.
Yeah, yeah. And they're
all-
also like their watch deal, right?
Watch, exactly. They're like,
watch
gotta
deal
get
in
this
there.
watch in, and yep, it's either that.
Ching. I remember in Cannes, Leonardo DiCaprio telling me, I was terrified,
Promoting Great Gatsby, I'm guessing.
promoting The Great Gatsby in a sea of photographers, and I was like, oh. And he said, look at their wristwatches.
Ah.
It makes you look like you don't care or something. I can't remember if that's exactly what he said, but he was like, I remember him saying, look at the wristwatches. And that's
brilliant.
Yeah. How did we first meet?
I don't remember when we first met.
I feel like we must have
Was
met.
it love at first sight?
It might have been.
That we've both forgotten?
We must have been like at a thing.
At a thing, at an event.
Been like, hi.
Hi, love your work so much.
me
That
too.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
I remember when we went to you on Promising Young Woman to play Cassandra, I was like, we're never going to get Carey Mulligan.
Shut up.
I was like, we're never. I remember saying to Josie, my producing partner, I was like, we can't afford to waste time going to an actor who's not going to sign on for this. Like, we'd never get her. And then,
so funny.
literally, and then I was
like, yes.
and I was totally eating my words where they're like, Carrie said she's going to do it. I was like, no
That is so
way. I
funny.
was like, this is so perfect. And part of the reason that you were so perfect for this role and that I was so adamant that I was like, I really want it to be her, aside from the fact that you're an incredible actor. But I've said this to you before, like in my mind, I hold you and like Meryl Streep in this rarefied air of like prestige actors. And I was like, I want to see a legit prestige actor wearing like a spandex dress with her mascara running down her face, like being drunk in a bar. Like that would be so engaging to, and like this obviously your character in Promising Young Woman is just brilliant, and what you did with it is far beyond what any of us could have imagined, as proven by the numerous nominations. But I just remember thinking, we'll never get her.
so
But if we
hilarious
do,
and
I just
funny.
want to see her in a bandaged dress with caked on makeup.
Yeah, that
and
was
bad
the
hair
dream.
extensions.
The
That's what I
dream
want.
always was that if we could make even one of her costumes into a Halloween costume, that women would, and they do.
Totally.
People are wearing it for
the
Halloween.
the nurse outfit
Yeah,
with
the
the
nurse
multicolored
outfit.
hair.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's a thing.
Yeah. Well, I was at one of my husband's gigs the other day, and there was a man outside with things, and as I walked in, he asked me to sign. I was with the kids, and it was me in that scene in the nurse outfit with the thing. And the kids saw it, and they were like, Mummy, what's that? I said, oh, it's just a story that Mummy told. And they went, what, did you play doctor? And I was like, yeah, I played a doctor. They were like, yeah, okay. So sweet. I was like,
good.
doctors don't generally look like that, but yeah, I was a doctor.
Are there any like things like that where you're like secretly, I'll know I've made it when I play a character who's a Halloween costume?
Yeah, well, that was it. I mean, that's it. Nellie's a really good Halloween costume.
She's you could
The
really
red dress.
or you could do the snake
you
attached
could do
to
a
her
snake,
neck would
yeah.
be fun.
Yeah.
I I've always thought to myself, I was like, I'll know I've really made it when a legit rapper uses my name in a rap.
That must have happened.
It's actually Jack Harlow.
Jack Harlow
just does mention my name in a song.
No, he doesn't.
I was very exciid. My friends all sent it to me because they were like, it's happened, you've made it.
Well, you can relax now.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably just take some time off.
I'll clock off.
Yeah, well, you did make a very long film.
I did make a very long film.
Very good. But you probably deserve a little break time.
I could stop. No, but that was, yeah, it is a good Halloween. So that's how we met. And then, of course, we've worked together more recently.
Yes.
Saltburn.
Yeah.
How many days did you do on Saltburn?
Oh, not very many. I
You were
did.
kind of in and out.
Emerald asked me to do Emerald Fennell, our
This is her second film,
favourite
Saltburn,
person in the world,
who I'm a producer on, and you're starring. Well,
asked me to come and play a part in Saltburn, like a little part. And I read it, and it's incredible. And I said, I don't want to play that part, I want to play a bigger part. So I asked for a different part, and she let me have it. But yeah, it was so much fun. And it was just...
And it's interesting too, because in the movie She Said, the director is also an actor, right? Maria Schrader's also an actor.
Yeah.
And so you've done it a couple times, and I've just worked with Greta Gerwig, who is an actor and a writer-director as well. And Emerald, of course, is...
I was going to say, is it news to say that Emerald's Em's in Barbie, right?
Emma's in Barbie, and she's so funny. I won't divulge what character she plays. She is so funny. It was actually hilarious because while we were prepping Barbie, and Greta and I were like, oh my God, let's get Emerald to do this part. We were also like, so I'm trying to organize as a producer, her coming in doing like hair and makeup tests and stuff on Barbie and deals and stuff. But at the same time, with our other production prepping Saltburn, the first AD kept calling me Andy and be like, what am I hearing about Emerald coming in to do a hair and makeup fitting on Barbie? We're doing tech scouts that day for Saltburn. And I was like, sorry, I'm okay. We're gonna reshuffle things.
So you're so impressive with all of this. Greta Gerwig, her doing Barbie, and you doing Barbie, and Ryan Gosling doing Barbie.
Oh my God. Of course, you've worked with...
I worked with Ryan back in the day.
Ryan.
Yeah, we did Drive.
Isn't he the most glorious human being?
The sweetest, nicest man in the world, and an incredible actor. So the two of you doing Barbie together with Greta.
So funny.
I said to Emerald Fennell, who came and did a little cameo, and I was like, Em, what's it like? She was like, mate. She did the long, like, she's like, it's fucking genius. So,
That's a good impression of it.
right? There you go.
It is genius. Greta's genius. And you know what? I saw a lot of similarities between Greta and Damien.
Oh,
and
really?
I don't think they've ever met. So Damien Chazelle, who directed Babylon, of course, Greta Gerwig directed Barbie. They're, I think, a very similar age as well. They reference the same things. Like, they both love, like, Umbrellas of Cherbourg. I mean, a lot of directors do, of course, and filmmakers, but, like, oddly, I'd find them referencing similar things.
Huh.
And I did ask, I was like, have you guys, like, chatted before? She was like, no, I've never met.
Oh,
and I was
that's
like,
so funny.
you guys are weirdly
It's a wild
similar.
swing for Greta.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But
were you two in it, sort of in it from the beginning?
So I've been working on it for about 4 or 5 years now. So it's a Lucky Chap project, and we went after Greta.
Right.
And it was kind of like, there were maybe 3 people that we would want to make a Barbie movie with.
Yeah.
And I was like, if she says no, like, we are down to like, it's a very small group of people that I think would make the film worth making, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So thank God she said yes. So, but she's just brilliant. And I had talked to her before about other projects because, you know, I loved her work and knew I wanted to work with her. But yeah, like to go from Nellie to Barbie, I mean, is such a handbrake turn. I can't even tell you how different those characters
How long did you have in between the two?
I had a while. Like I had at least 6 months.
Oh, okay.
We had to prep Barbie, and the prep period was pretty long.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's so much building.
Do you make giant Barbie houses in the film?
The dream houses.
The dream houses, really.
You'll see some dream houses.
I'm so excited.
And it will be everything you ever dreamed of.
Oh my goodness, that is so
You should have come to set while we were shooting.
I was doing
Maestro. Yeah, you would have been doing Maestro.
Maestro, yeah.
When does that come out?
Next year, I think. We just finished it like 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
so
really?
Yeah. When did we start?
Another actor.
Another actor-director, yeah.
I see a pattern here.
Yeah.
Have you like shed the character? Does that happen to you? Do characters like stick around with you, or are you like, yeah, they're gone?
Yeah, maybe more in play, like theatre, maybe a bit more. I feel a bit sort of more, or I feel like, you know, it's like you find all these best friends, and
I know,
you know,
it's like summer camp.
saying goodbye
ends
to
every time.
Emerald was a real massive bummer when we finished Promising. And then Zoe Kazan and I,
Oh, I haven't even asked about Zoe yet.
Oh.
I'm such a fan of hers as well.
me too.
So, is she amazing?
so
Please.
Zoe and I did a production of The Seagull
Ah, no
14 years ago on Broadway, and we shared this dressing room that's like the size of this carpet, and we fell in love, and you know, she was a bridesmaid at my wedding. We became best mates,
she?
yeah.
Oh my God, I love
And
that.
then she and Paul wrote Wildlife, which I was in, that Paul directed.
Oh
And
my
so
God, of
we've
course.
always been like, let's find a thing to do together, and then could never. And then we got offered this. Just
That is
I
amazing.
know, and she's so amazing, and she's so amazing in the film, and she's got a lot of the kind of emotional, like, heavy lifting to do, because she has so much interaction with the women survivors in the film, and there's a scene
That
where
scene
she
when
gets.
she cries when she gets the phone call. Oh my gosh, that
And
is...
I mean, it's Ashley Judd sort of calling her, and
Yeah.
so it wasn't. I mean, Ashley obviously participates in the film, which is amazing, but it was, as you know, it was like an AD in an office.
Yeah,
you know,
which is always...
So Zoe has to do this phone call 8 times in a row with lovely AD trying to read the lines and sort of imbue them with something, but it's just so, you know, it's like not
never
another,
enough.
it's hard. And every take, Zoe was just like that, like you see in the film,
delivers.
just like, but slightly different every time, never the same, you know, just, she's the most truthful.
talent.
Yeah, she's incredible. She's incredible. So I felt like every day so lucky to just have an actor that I could look at and not have to act as much, you know. It's just...
I'm so happy to hear that you're friends in real life as well, because
Yeah.
I felt like on screen, I was like, I think they must have got along really well, because you can feel that chemistry is good. I love when you both look like the twins from The Shining and you're wearing like the same white dress to go to people's houses.
Well, they
Your
did
brown
that in
hair.
real life, the real journalists.
Do they actually?
They were going to see Gwyneth Paltrow, and they thought, we're going to see Gwyneth Paltrow, we should
Let's
wear white
dress
dresses. Because they thought it was sort of like, and they don't, they dress like kind of like this. I mean, they don't, you know, so they, and then the other day, Zoe and I were doing press. We went on The View together, and we showed up both wearing almost identical from like head to toe. I almost wore the same lip shade as her, black turtleneck, black thing, trousers, an identical belt. But because of the sort of structure of The View, there was no point at which I could reference the fact that we were wearing the same outfits. We were sitting next to each other looking insane. I wanted to say, we know...
We called each other this morning and planned our outfits.
Like this was, we are aware, but there was no moment to do that, so we just looked crazy.
Clearly we could talk forever.
Yeah.
But we can go do that off camera,
Maybe
I suppose.
like the 35 people not here.
Not everyone has to witness us catching up.